way in, we were talking it through, and we realized, really and truly, I think this is a crucial piece of the puzzle of sort of what we want to offer in Fresh Science to understand this. This, I want to tie together what is the whole program, the workshop, what is the goal, what are we trying to do, how are we trying to help you? Clearly, it is naive and foolish. I don't believe any of you. And if you did, then truth in advertising, we were, if we made you think you were going to come here and be completely healed for the rest of your life and float out of here, ready to run your own, clinic and workshops on trauma, we made a mistake. We made you feel that way. That is not the case. The real case is, and that's really the way I had always understood it, and we've now been talking about it sort of articulate, is my hope, or what I see as a therapist, is that we can keep doing the work and it sort of keeps on going. We sort of stay in therapy forever. And sometimes you don't really conceptualize for yourself, what is the work? Like, what am I actually doing? What's the goal? What's the process? The process unfolds. I told you my own story. There's Rosham, there's details. You understand it can be there forever. Trauma memories, they never go away. The goal is to work out where those trauma memories impact you and how to heal them in the sense that they don't control you. So what have we been discussing? We've talked through. Do you mind if I put my back to you? Is that okay? All right. No, I'm sorry. So look, we've been talking through about where is trauma? Like, what does it mean to be traumatized? Right? Trauma means like this. It's a gift. The traumatic reaction we have to frightening, scary, life-threatening situations, horrific situations, the traumatic impact on us is a gift from God. That's not a bad thing. It's a good thing. And we talked about the bear, right? The Cholamoid trip, and you're there and you're having your picnic, and then 50 yards, 100 yards away, a bear, medium-sized, walks out of the undergrowth. You don't want to stay in your online, empathic, intuitive, creative, interesting, as if you're in a zoo, and that's so interesting, because you have no safety. In a zoo or behind a wall in an aquarium, there's a shark flying at you. Well, there's a glass wall that he can't get through. You have safety. You have that barrier. We talked about when we do the work, we create that barrier around us. You actually have that barrier. You're safe. But if you're on a picnic trip, you do not want to start taking selfies and discussing which type of bear. I remember someone gave a Joshua once about which type of bear is the safe one. Well, isn't one of them scared of us more than we're scared of it? You just don't want to have those droshes and looking up on Google. Anyone's phone got service? Let's just check on Google, which type of bear is this and take pictures. No. You simply want to go into fight, or not fight, don't fight with a bear. You want to go into flight, and you want to back away very, gently and leave everything and get in the car and get safe. Then have your conversations. So the gift of a traumatic reaction, we have to frame it clearly within ourselves, is the gift of life that Hashem gave us. That's how he made the Bria. He made us in a way that we should be safe. Where's the problem? The problem is that if you have a traumatic experience, let's say, in a relationship, just a marshal, in a relationship with your parent in your childhood, for example, where you felt your parent was either suffocating of your existence, they controlled the kishkas out of your life, or they threatened you, or in the case of abuse, you got sexually abused, and especially, you can't, if you get sexually abused, you can't avoid being sexual. I mean, you could, but it would impair your life completely. You want to have children and a family, so you want to be sexual. So, you know what I'm saying? So it impacts your life in a way that wrecks you. It's not something you can just forget about. So that memory stays there. And unfortunately, you have to re-engage being, in the case of a sexual abuse story, the abuse is there that tells you stay away from, let's say a girl was abused by men or a man. So the abuse message, the sexual abuse message, which is in your nervous system, stays there forever, saying, watch out for men. And that's valuable information that protects you. So what happens? You go through life, whether it's the sexual abuse experience that says, watch out for men, or it's my mother, who was second generation Holocaust survivor, and there's no warmth, kissing, love, because they just left love behind in Auschwitz. They didn't take it with them, because you can't love when you keep losing your entire family and community and life. Love kills you. Love kills you. It's too painful to have that ripped away, your loved ones ripped away. So many left love behind, and we do function. We do taking care. We make sure you eat well. We make sure you're clothed well. You go outside, and it's like one little drop of snow, and the third generation Holocaust survivor mother is piling 15 layers of clothing and earmuffs and boots on her kid, and the kid is freaking out because none of my friends are going to school like that. And you're making me look like a retard, like a crazy person. What are you doing to me? And there's this whole war, but from the mother's point of view, I'm just protecting my kid. But she's really reacting to trauma. She's not tuned into the love, she's tuned into protection. The problem is when the traumatic experiences were directly connected to crucial relationships in your life, parents, siblings, people in your life. You have to re-engage people to live a life amongst people. So now what do? You keep getting triggered, just like the sexual abuse victim, who will view men as dangerous, which is valuable, but it's very much not valuable when you get married. Because what are you going to do then? So it doesn't help you anymore. So we have to conceptualize the location. What does it mean? It means like this. We human beings want to stay online. We want to be present. What does it mean to be present? So we talked about the window of tolerance, right? These two white lines. We want to go in our ups and downs, normal daily ups and downs. Right? We all have moments better and worse, and little tension moments. You're going to get the kids off to school, and the bus is coming, and this one kid can't find the one shoe you were convinced you put out last night, and they're freaking out. They can't find their shoe, or someone doesn't have the homework, and so you get like hyper around, right? You get a little bit tense. But you don't want to go up here and go crazy. You want to stay still functioning. And so we try, right? We have moments, different moments in life, and we want to try and stay in the window. Why? Because in the window of tolerance, we have access to our prefrontal cortex, this front part of the brain. And in this front part of the brain, look at the qualities that we have access to in terms of emotions and behavior. These are the qualities that are directly and only found here. And look at them. We feel safe and secure. Again, when the bear's coming out of the undergrowth, you want to go in here and go into fight and flight. You want to go into flight. You want to save yourself. You do not want to stay present, safe and secure, cool, calm, collected, and connected in the moment when a bear is lumbering towards you. That makes sense. It's just wrong. So Hashem protected us, and he took that offline. Empathy and compassion and love. When you're being threatened, where there's a potential life-threatening or horrific experience coming your way, you don't want to stay with your empathy, compassion, and love. That's the wrong time for it. You want to go into fight and flight and get safe. So you drop those qualities. If a husband and wife are together being intimate in bed, it's Leil Mikveh, and it's a beautiful experience and a beautiful night, and they want to be together, and they smell fire in the house. That is not a time where you want to stay cool, calm, connected, empathy, compassion, and love, and just say, sweetie, I just got a few more nice things to say about you. You just leap out of bed, you run around like crazy, and you go into this part of your body, because remember, the amygdala starts going ding, 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 because it smells fire. He's watching in the background for you. You're enjoying yourself, but the amygdala starts going ding, 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 and it pulls you right into here and takes this offline. So you can't be empathic, compassionate, and loving, balanced and settled physiology. I mentioned before we did the grounding exercise, if you track your own body, just take a look. You can almost always feel a little tension somewhere. There's something going on inside. That's balanced physiology. Those are the signs, when they get really strong, that tell you, something's going on around me. And then when you tune into them, they become your friend, actually, because that's the vagus nerve. When you come into this part, it starts affecting the vagus nerve and things get turned off. Because if you in flight or fight, you want to have all your energy to fight and flight. You don't want to waste energy on digestion. You don't want to waste it on all sorts of other pancreas. I always think of the pancreas. You don't know what a pancreas even does. But whatever it does, when you're the one person who knows. But whatever the pancreas does, am I right? You don't need it when you're in fight and flight. Exactly. I don't even know if you need much of your liver at that moment. There you go. Thank you. We have an expert here. But there's so many parts of your body that take raw energy to function. It's like the battery power. You want to shift from gas to the electric battery. So when you go into fight and flight, this nerve shuts down unneeded parts of your body so that you can preserve the energy for fight and flight. It's such a beautiful, perfect system to help us survive. It's evolving. That's why, by the way, when it turns off the different parts of your body, you feel weird in your body. That's why we always call it body work. Go into your body, because the trauma location is from in the limbic system down through this nerve is the location where those memories are. We'll come to that in a moment. So when you're in the window tolerance, again, supportive to rest and digest, willingness and ability to socially connect. We talked about attuned communication. That's really what these words mean. The ability to have attuned communication, to listen to someone else's story. If you're being threatened, if someone is talking to you and saying to you, I don't get it. How can you be so stupid? I mean, I asked you for the low-fat milk. Like, what is so different? Low-fat milk. Is that so complicated? Like, how many times I should send you a text? But what? You need 3 emails? I'm sorry, I'm just not activating you. But you know what I'm saying? It's like you go into that thing. Yeah, you're going to feel threatened. In that moment, it's very hard. You just want to get out of there. You want to yell back, don't hurt me. Why are you hurting me? You just feel like fighting back. So you lose attuned communication, because in attuned communication, you would be able to say, sweetie, I see that's really challenging. And I don't know why, but maybe it's unfair for me to just expect it. Should I just get it myself? Or, you know what? I feel like maybe I didn't mention it. I can keep getting that. Like, I don't want it. I feel like such a fool. I didn't say it. It's like, you connect with the person in the moment. Well, when you're in fight and flight, you don't have access to that. So when your spouse got the wrong milk, you just feel threatened. Obviously, it means you don't love me, right? Because if you love me, you get me the right milk. That's when this is offline, that's what you're going to say, because you feel threatened. You lose the ability to self-soothe. This self-regulate, self-soothe, to calm yourself down, reflect upon yourself and say, I think I'm being a jerk, right, honey? And she says, yeah. And I can soothe myself and realize that, reflect inwards. You lose that ability. It's not available when you're offline. Self-regulated self-care, happy, content, and well. Happy, content, and well. You can't have access to those aspects of yourself when you're dysregulated. Dysregulated, you went up here or you went down here, fight or flight. Because you're not meant to. That's the clue. You're not meant to. When you're in fight or flight, when you get triggered here in your vagus nerve, but that means when the amygdala goes off, just like if we're having a beautiful picnic, every one of us who has a functioning amygdala, the amygdala, depending on how many of the 4 S's you had, how richly you had it in your childhood, your amygdala should probably be going, I think it's 4 times a second. I think Porges has a piece about it. I hope I'm not confusing something else. But I think, I have to check. But I'm pretty sure the Porges says that 4 times a second. It's just like, and that's like just in the background. The background scan of the world, 4 times a second, scanning the world. That's like just background. Let's put it in our terms. let's forget the 4 times a second, but it would be like beep, 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 beep. It's just in the background, watching out on your behalf, on my behalf. It's watching the world and it's assessing the world, the amygdala, through your 5 senses. Through your 5 senses: smell, touch, sound, hearing, right, taste. You can, the amygdala is always there. So you'll eat something that might be like, you have chopped liver. And the first taste of the chopped liver, sometimes it's off, right? You all know that there's a sweetness to it. You know, once in a blue moon, you buy the chopped liver, they kept it too long, it goes off very quickly. And you taste the first bite, and the amygdala goes beep, 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 right? And someone announces quickly, don't eat the liver, right? Because it's off. That's the amygdala's taste. It could be anything that tells you, it informs you that, you know, there's a threat, a potential threat to your life is around. The bear walks out of the undergrowth, beep, 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 beep. It goes crazy because it wants you to get in the car and be safe. And that's a God-given gift. The amygdala triggers, it pulls us offline. And by the way, I'm not sure it's exactly always like black and white. You have no access. I'm not sure that really rarely happens. You have no access here, but it's very impaired access is probably the best way to say it. Your access to the prefrontal cortex, to these qualities, you may even know I should be talking attuned right now, but it kind of like can't get yourself there. It's so hard to even speak. It's so hard to push yourself through because you've been pulled offline. That's why intelligent people find it very, very difficult frequently to be able to have an attuned, I know I want to. I'm having a certain struggle with my spouse. We're having a difference of agreement, and I don't want it to get worse. And I can feel the tension already in my body that it's coming. And I'm trying so hard to stay online. I don't realize that's what I'm doing. I'm trying to have a conversation, a mature conversation, and it just seems too hard. It's just too hard. What is that? I'm so blocked. Why? And your whole body, you can feel it inside. It's like, it's getting all wired up. What's actually happening is that the energy, the battery is shifting to your limbic system, which then goes down through the vagus nerve and is really taking you offline. The memories the amygdala has are connected forever through your nervous system. And they inform your nervous system that I'm offline, I need to be offline, I need to be safe. And in which case, I don't have access to these qualities that I need to have normal, healthy relationships. So what I discover is that I know, and this is a truth I think for almost all of us, I know I am a good person. I also know I'm actually a kind person and I'm a loving person. I know that too. And it is frequently a mystery to me why the person or persons I live with don't see me that way. Why is that? I don't get it. I know I am a loving, kind person. So why do people who I love feel safe with me and see me that way? Why not? Doesn't make sense. This is the answer. The answer is when you have old complex trauma issues from your childhood, you were abandoned, you were abused, you were totally neglected. Whatever your childhood issues were, you had a borderline mother, which means that you were never, ever secure and safe with yourself ever. If you have a borderline mother, you are literally on guard. Your amygdala, your entire childhood is going ding, 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 all the time. All the time. That means every moment almost you're feeling threatened. If you're neglected as a child, you feel the world is threatening. And if I don't take care of it, no one will. It's like I'm on my own fighting the world. It's such an awful feeling. So what happens is unconsciously you sweep those reactions to your complex trauma from your childhood. You sweep it with you into your next relationship. Well, here's the problem. If your next relationship was with the one unique human being who somehow came out of his mother's womb and was perfect forever, got 4 S's from both his mother and his father, never faced any childhood trauma, was a dream child, dream person, dream everything. Well, the only thing I can say that is dream on, because there isn't such a person. Because everyone has quirky qualities of their own that will bug you out at times. And every person has flaws, real flaws, because none of us are perfect. We all have chesronos. Now, unfortunately, the chances are that his chesronos will trigger your amygdala is going to recognize that his chesronos, right? He's got your amygdala is going to say, no, that's not that you're be scared. Watch out. That's what it's going to say. Watch out. You're going to feel like, if you were sexually abused and then your husband wants to be sexual, he's not a husband being sexual so you can have an intimate, beautiful, loving relationship. He's a creep who wants to rape me. That's part of what your amygdala says. Watch out, he might be a creep. Maybe he wants to rape me. He's always too interested. He's never sensitive to me. He never tunes into when I'm in the mood or I'm available or I'm not tired. He just wants sex, and blah, 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 blah. And the amygdala's going ding, 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 ding. And then you go offline. But when you're offline, what's the chances of you having the attuned communication, feeling safe and calm and smooth, to be able to tune into him and actually process that problem? The chances are 0. And you end up having a fight, and that creates more trauma in your life. What are we trying to teach here? What is the purpose? What's the goal? You see, the real goal of all of this is that you go home with such a deep and clear understanding of this system. Number one, none of this is your fault. You just have to leave that behind. We can keep it here for you. Please leave it behind. There's a box by the front door of all your problems and your faults. You fill it in, say, no, they're not. You drop it in that box before you walk out. Because I'm telling you right now, none of it is your fault. There is no accountability for the mala. It is not your fault. You have to understand that. Your experience of your childhood without having proper nurturing, right? And having what we call the selim nivri, everyone's perfect. And the kind of neshama should sound to be tired. I was tired when I came in, but I went into a group of circumstances that were unique to me that unfortunately made my amygdala go off like crazy because I was really hurt and threatened by the people around me who simply couldn't educate properly for me. Take sexual abuse. It's not that my parents are evil people. They're not evil, but they're people who, where were you? Why didn't you get the education? Why didn't you know you need to protect children and brothers and sisters here? The brothers play with their sisters. Why didn't you know? I'm a little girl. I expected you to know. I have a right for that. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying you're evil, but I'm darn angry with you. Do you know what I'm saying? It's like they're not evil, just like we're not evil. No one's evil. We're not quite evil here, right? What we're talking about is people who, unfortunately, my personal contention, as you well know, is we're looking at a lot of post-Holocaust trauma. We're looking at the terrible impact that the post-Holocaust desire to build and rebuild Torah and Moses wrecked so many children and made them feel so unworthy. We created a box and we said, this is the box that the good people live in. Only good people are in this box. If you can't be in this box, you're not good. You're horrible. That's what the system did. That is not true. That is just not true. That's a fantasy. It was aspired to rebuild Torah. I get that the Torah led us that way. But the idea that there's only one box we all have to go into is not a Jewish or Torah concept. It was a post-rebuilding Torah concept that's still high in our school system, trust me. And it's still destructive. When you look at all these things together, you see people, and they're so worried about shidduchim. What on earth happened to Munah? Between gods and challenges, and Zavi Zivudim. And why are we so panicky from day one about everything shidduchim? And then your kid gets married, and no one cares about the shidduch. Where's the mechudim? They're worried about who's your mechudim, because now you're kosher, which you're such a mechudim. It's all like crazy. But all that stuff conspired to literally create trauma, complex trauma, where life was experienced as threatening. It goal here is leave behind the idea of accountability. You're not accountable. You didn't cause any of this yourself. What your job is now is to take responsibility. I think you said it, one of your appropriate finger pointings was very appropriate, when you pointed out, yes, we're going to break generations, we're going to stop it now. It was really good. It was really good, because that was, okay, just without photos, but it was good. It was good. It's like, yes, let's stop it so it doesn't go on another generation. And I can live a healthy life with my spouse and my children and live productive. I don't have to feel like the need to run around and speak to 100 people so that I can actually feel worthy and loved. You should feel worthy and loved anyway because you're lovable, you're adorable. You are absolutely adorable. And you don't need to be weirdo sexual to be adorable and loved. You are as it is. But when that happened to you, it distorted how you experience being loved and makes you want to have sex with every person on earth in order because you crave and desperately need the affection and love. That's a distortion because of childhood trauma. The goal here is to understand this system. There's a lot more details. I just want you to simplify the concept into a simple construct. Our goal is to help you learn the skills, understand what happened to you. It's not morality. It's not Musa. God forbid. Musa in this is a mazik. It's an absolute mazik. For Asid Litin Sadin to give Musa to someone who's a trauma victim. Asid Litin Sadin. It's disgusting. What trauma victims have to understand. That's the beauty of what I feel with people here. It's just you have no idea. You launch me. You empower me. You don't know the gift you give me. I know Maisha feels it too. I'm sure you're letting me feel it too. It's such a powerful feeling of the opportunity to be able to actually bring authentic information to you. It's really relatively simple. And the gift is take it home with you. And your goal is to stay here. This is your goal. This is your goal. To recognize in yourself when your amygdala is not just going ding, 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 ding. But when your amygdala is going ding, 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 chances are you're already in your limbic system. That means you will not have access to your online faculties of life, your empathy, your compassion, your attuned communication. When you're being triggered, you don't have access to this. When you don't have access to this, you are going to fight with your spouse, your mother, your father, your neighbor, with someone. Why? Not because you're bad, but because you're preserving your life. You're trying to seek safety. You feel threatened and you want to be safe. You're not a horrible, bad person. You're protecting yourself. Years ago, I wanted to publish a book. It had a cover and a title. I had a whole series of these books. It was like a gift box. I imagined them on every person's shelf in the world. I was going to be a multi-millionaire for these books. They're little thin books. They have a beautiful title. You open it up, and on the front page it says, "That makes sense, doesn't it?" And there's nothing else in the book. And you take one off and give it to people you love when they need it. So the first one in the series was, you can't make love in a suit of armor. Suit of armor, the old days, okay? You can't make love in a suit of armor. A suit of armor is designed so no arrows or swords can get at you. So it's great for that. You can't make love in a suit of armor. How are you going to make love in a suit of armor? You open it up, it says, that makes sense, doesn't it? And just everyone gets it. Right? I had a whole series of these books. I really should have published them. But this is, you can't make love in a suit of armor. If you're in here, you're in a suit of armor. Head to toe, metal. How are you going to make love in a suit of armor? How are you going to connect? You don't have access to the skills you need, which are in the prefrontal cortex. They're there. They're not here. You don't want them here. If you put these skills online, when you're being attacked by a bear, you're going to get killed. God forbid. So Kodesh Baruch Hu made the brain so beautiful, it shuts off.
The problem is when you have complex trauma, you keep getting reminded, no PTSD, you have a severe psychological reaction, that means you freak out, and exposure to internal or external cues that symbolize or resemble an aspect of your original trauma. Brilliant longness in that. It's amazing how it covers everything. You freak out at exposure to internal or external cues. They could be here, I could smell, taste, touch, or inside, that symbolize or resemble an aspect of the original trauma, right? And you freak out. And then people look at you, what are you freaking out about? What's wrong with you? And then they blame you for the freak out. That's so cruel. Your psychological reaction is going into the limbic system and saving yourself, which is fine if you're in, Vietnam and there's bullets flying in every direction. Yeah, be in your limbic system. That's not the time to have a schmooze about the, forests are so beautiful. I love forests. Look at the trees. Right? That's not the time for that conversation. So this all shuts off. Does that make sense? You want it to shut off. The problem is if the bullets flying around are the smothering and controlling of a borderline mother, if they're your bullets flying at me, or the experience of being inappropriately touched, so now every time you're intimate, you're wacky, your relationship to intimacy and sexuality is off, and you don't know why. And everything else happens to us in our childhood, and neglect and abandonment, and all the other things that happen to us that put us offline because the amygdala thinks that's still happening right now. Right? Because if you're a borderline mother and you felt strangled and frightened every second, then the moment anyone raises their voice around you, there you go. You feel it right away. You feel offended. And that person was just, I wasn't screaming at you, they say. You sure were, you were screaming. Why do you have to scream at me? I was screaming, I was being passionate. That's not passion. That was screaming. You were putting me down. Why have you put it? You lose everything. Because you have no access to have a rational conversation. I just want you to shut up. I just want you to shut up. Don't do that to me. Because I'm experiencing you through my amygdala as all those countless experiences I had when I was a child. The goal of the program is to bring the clarity of this so clear to you, so that when you realize what's going on inside yourself, I'm offline. Got it? I'm over here, or I'm over here. I'm over here powerless over right? You have to shut that one. You will know that. Right? And the other one, what do you say? What? 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 Don't talk to me like that. Right? You starting that with me again? That darn diet milk you want me to get the whole time. What's wrong with you? I want pizza coffee. No, it's the other way around. I forget which one it was. It doesn't matter. But you understand, in this, you go nuts, anger, aggression, irritability, sensitivity, because you're feeling threatened and you want to be safe. Here, I get safe by being never. Just go to bed. I'm not feeling selfish good. Selfish good. It's selfish good. It's like unbelievable. In Yeshiva, incredible. I remember this line, selfish good. I told you, I know what selfish good means. I want my wife to give me chicken soup and love. That's what selfish good means. That's the translation of the word, selfish good. It means I need love and chicken soup. And if I can milk that for 3 days, my wife will come in, sweetie, this and chicken soup, anything else. I just want her to love me. Men are like that. We get a little tickle in the throat and we like chicken soup and bed and lots of love. It's love. Men exploit that, right? That tickle. So women, they're half dead and they're still like doing everything. They're pregnant and babies and carpools and showers and 15 years and they're half dead. But they're still pushing on now. That's what it's like. That's what we're like. We're crazy. Yeah, it's really nothing to do with that scratching your throat. It's funny, when I worked this out, I was not never to the sick day ever again. I just went over to my wife and said, honey, I need a hug. I just need some love. Is that all right? She said, okay. And she'll give you some love. You know, and you have to learn how to say, you're not very loving to me. Like, that would really do a lot of good, right? Like men do, you know, get lost. You know, you go over, you say, honey, you're adorable, you're wonderful, can I have a little bit of that? You know, and it's all good. And then it felt good. You know, fine. And I went to work and everything was fine. Flus and colds and everything else and broken feet. I had hip surgery, replaced my hip. I was at work the next day. I had one day off in the hospital. The physical therapist came to the house. I had surgery Tuesday night. I did a session in the recovery room on my phone. In the recovery room, I did 2 sessions in the hospital room around my bed. People came to the hospital who wanted to speak to me. I did a session in the room. They needed the session. And the next day, my wife took me home. I got dressed and was fully working. When the physical therapist came to the house, she asked me, Mr. Russell. And I said, that's me. No, she said, one that had the surgery. I said, no, that's me. She said, no, one that had the leg surgery. I said, yeah, that's me. I said, what do you mean? I said, what do you mean? She said, you're meant to be in bed, aren't you? I said, why would I be in bed? I got dressed, went downstairs, packed some ice all around. I mean, they took my leg off and put it back on. Right? That's basically what they did. And 2 days later, I was fully at work in my living room. Didn't go to the other stairs, slept downstairs, and I took care of myself. Because when you get rid of the trauma, you understand you don't exploit everything to get love, get cared for. You just be present. You stay here. Life is so much nicer here. You don't want to be there. When you have trauma, this is a very comfortable place to be because you need to protect yourself. As you overcome it and you own this is the goal and the gift, the hope of what happens this week. You take home the grounding experiences, the self-awareness, the knowledge of when I go off, the idea that this is not my fault when my amygdala is flying, and I need to ground myself. And must take 3 minutes, go find a little room, bring yourself down, you know, and then go back and say, honey, I'm sorry, I think I was a little offline enough, but I'm back now. So we have that conversation. And you start discovering life. You reclaim your life. This is the process. As I said, there's a box outside that everything is my fault. Fill it in and just leave that with us. We will keep that to you. You don't have to take that home. Wasn't your fault. The job now, at the end of this, is to take home these awarenesses and you're going to try and keep yourself here the whole time. This is what we're trying to work with you on. To recognize when the amygdala gets triggered and the way you deal with that. Well, there's many ways. That's what I was talking to you about. Go get angry in hindsight for what happened. Acknowledge that and get mad about it. Get it out. Talk to that part in yourself. You know, we all have I got a little children inside where every now and again, you know, maybe he does selfish good, you know, whatever it is. But that little piece inside, I can talk to him, be aware of him. And he doesn't get very far at all. Like, I notice the tension. I'm just so aware of it now. I think, what's that about? Work it out. Talk to it. Literally. I literally talk to it. When I don't do it publicly, people put me in the middle of. But, you know, privately, I talk to it. And I tell myself that part where I feel it. I usually put my hand on it. So I put my hand on, I mean, this is sort of somatic experiencing how it works. And you put your hand on that place and talk to it. Ground yourself first. Do some breathing. Do some rebalancing, and then talk to that place in yourself and talk truth to it and let it know that the grown-up me is here. We're fine. We're going to take care of things. You know, we're in charge. We're doing very good, actually. When you talk to that part of yourself that gets scared and frightened, that places you offline, bring yourself back here, and then you learn to have rich relationships. That's how you recover. This is the process. This is what we hope to really do this whole week. And just, you know, love doing this. Love seeing the results.